The relationship between my husband and his parents is somewhat distorted. His father, his mother, and my husband. It's like three pieces forcibly pushed together, and if one is missing, the whole thing collapses. I had such a bad feeling about it. His father passed away 3 years after my husband, John, and I got married. He always took medication for high blood pressure, so it was probably a heart attack caused by that. His father was like a strict teacher, and John was always told to aim to be the best since he was young. Being raised rather leniently by ordinary parents, I never experienced the kind of tension he faced. It's harsh to say, but it seemed like he was finally set free. That's what John's profile seemed to say as he looked at his father's portrait. But being set free doesn't necessarily mean things will go in a good direction. John fell deep into the swamp of gambling. John is a salesman at a major corporation. Both of us work, and we live together with his parents. After setting aside money for savings and living expenses, we were free to use the rest of our salaries as we like. There should have been enough for his pocket money. But John started pouring his money into gambling, and when that wasn't enough, he first dipped into our living expenses. Expenses for meals with colleagues, covering entertainment costs. The reasons varied, but once he started lying, it was all downhill from there. I felt sorry for him. I read gambling addiction will improve if it is thoroughly managed by those around it. So, I tried every method I could think of for his rehabilitation. Abandoning someone you once loved is heart-wrenching. But in the end, when I said I would manage the household finances, he just yelled, "Are you kidding me? You're trying to take my money," and refused. I explained to him about gambling addiction, but he got furious, saying, "Are you treating me like a sick person? I just spend a little money to relieve stress." All I could do was warn him, but he said, "You're not my mother to nag me like that. Living expenses are necessary money for living, right? I need gambling," and he shamelessly began using the money. 3 months after his father's death, John started pouring his entire salary into gambling. My mother-in-law was completely unaware of John's situation. John never showed his bad side to mother-in-law. To him, she was the complete opposite of his father, always pampering and comforting him. He probably wanted to avoid being disliked by her at all costs. I think John makes excuses about his gambling because he feels guilty somewhere inside. So, who gets blamed? The answer is me, his wife. Mother-in-law never liked me to begin with. She doted on her only son John, pampering him because his father was strict. After hearing about my interference from John, mother-in-law lectured me, "Emily, I heard from John. You shouldn't always criticize what your husband does. A wife is supposed to support her husband. I'm his mother, so I know everything about John. He's sensitive. He's not the kind to say harsh words, but you make him say you're nagging. You're really the worst wife." Mother-in-law would say such mean things to my face. But gambling needs to be properly rehabilitated. Oh, you're making a big deal out of it. A little gambling here and there is just socializing for men, right? Instead of sticking your nose in too much, why don't you polish your housekeeping skills? I've checked your room occasionally, and it's a mess. Dust everywhere. What, you entered my room without permission? Is that why some of my clothes are missing? Oh, is that a problem? This house is mine now. Now that Dad's gone, I can do as I like. I should be thanked for throwing out the unnecessary stuff. Before I could argue back, mother-in-law left with a loud laugh. After his father's death, mother-in-law changed too. Her malice became more apparent, not just mean comments, but also rummaging through my room and throwing away my belongings. When I complained to John, he accused me, "Are you calling my mom a thief? You probably lost it yourself. Are you trying to use this as an excuse to ask me for stuff?" Instead of believing me, he just yelled at me. Why did I put up with such a man, just because we were married? This thought grew stronger every day. And finally, when I discovered John had dipped into our savings for the future, something in me snapped. Let's get a divorce. That was the only option. It was absurd to keep enduring this. But would John, who treated me like a free housekeeper, easily agree to a divorce? As I hesitated, unexpected help came my way. "Hey, Emily? I have a favor to ask," my mother-in-law said in a cajoling tone. Would you divorce John? Of course, it's sudden, so I'll pay you alimony. How about $50,000? Divorce with alimony? I thought I was dreaming, but a pinch on my leg confirmed it was real. I know you still have feelings for John. You always made me the bad one to get his attention. But you two are mismatched. John is tired of your nagging and lies. And the money you both saved, didn't you spend it on your own, even though you said it was for future kids? What? I was too stunned to speak. It seemed John had blamed his embezzlement on me. John is forgiving, so he's letting it go. Being called the worst wife by his own mother would look bad, right? So, $50,000 is hush money. I almost screamed that it was all John's lies. But then, an idea crossed my mind. It's distasteful, but if I keep quiet, I could get a divorce with alimony. If it's mother-in-law's suggestion, John wouldn't refuse it. Understood. I happily accept your offer. I can't thank you enough for your kindness. I forced a smile and managed to say that. With mother-in-law leading, the divorce was quickly finalized. Not all the savings were gone, so I secured my share. Just in case, I got a written agreement about the alimony from mother-in-law, but it was promptly transferred, so I was relieved. The money must have come from my father-in-law's inheritance. I rented a place near my office, living alone. With a coveted walk-in wardrobe and loft. The power of money is incredible. Thanks to renting a nice place, the treatment from John and mother-in-law faded from my memory quickly. Mother-in-law contacted me 5 months after the divorce. I realized I hadn't changed my phone number. As I fiddled with my phone, she pleaded. Emily, please, help me. I was startled as she clung to me over the phone. I regret kicking you out. Please, help me. Mother-in-law began explaining her situation. The whole reason my mother-in-law urged me to divorce in the first place was because John said, I want to live just with you, Mom. John probably only told her about my nagging, keeping his gambling habit hidden. Mother-in-law, happy with her beloved son's words, didn't see his ulterior motive. After I left, John said, you can trust me with the finances, put the house in my name. It was going to be his inheritance anyway. Mother-in-law agreed without hesitation. But that was her mistake. Once the house was in his name, John took out a mortgage against it. Mother-in-law found out about the situation just 2 days ago. A foreclosure notice from a financial institution arrived, and that's how everything came to light. When she confronted John, it turned out he had repeatedly missed repayments, and it had been over 3 months since the last one. It was all gambling debt. The inheritance from his father, the savings, his salary. She was astounded when John said he had spent all the available money. What sealed mother-in-law's fate was his callous remark, Dad's inheritance should still have your share, right? With that, there won't be a foreclosure for a while. Mother-in-law replied that there was no such money left. It had gone towards my alimony and luxury goods. Then, an infuriated John yelled at her, why did you pay alimony to her behind my back? Give it back. $50,000, are you out of your mind? Eventually, mother-in-law contacted me, demanding I return the $50,000. Even if you ask me to return it now, it's a problem. I have a written agreement. There's no reason for me to return it. While talking, I remembered how mother-in-law had treated me and started feeling angry. Mother-in-law's humility ended there. How can you be so cold? When family desperately asks for help, you should naturally say yes, out of pity. You're really the worst person. Heartless. I repeatedly pointed out John's gambling habit and wanted to do something about it. You ignored it and laughed it off, calling me exaggerated. Who's the worst here? To talk about family now, really? That's because I didn't know. It couldn't be helped. If you had spoken up stronger, I would have listened. It's your fault. Do something about this. That selfish attitude, really like mother, like son. Weren't you the mother who knew everything? I didn't touch the savings, it was all your son's lies. You couldn't see through him, and that's your own doing. Now you're asking me to fix it? I'm just fed up. Thanks to you, we're strangers now. As I pressed on, mother-in-law fell silent. I'll claim the $50,000 was stolen by you. I'll sue you. I sighed heavily at her shallow thinking. With what you just said, it'll be obvious it's a false claim. I recorded this call, just in case. What did you say? It's a call from a mother-in-law who kicked me out, right? It's only natural to expect it to be nothing good. There's no way she could claim I stole it, especially with a written agreement. After I added that, mother-in-law completely shut up. Are we done here? Please resolve this with your beloved son. If I get another ridiculous call like this, I'll consult a lawyer and take it as far as necessary. Be prepared. With that emphasis, I hung up the phone. There were no more contacts from mother-in-law, but John did ask to get back together. Due to repeated delays in payment and eventually stopping altogether, the family home was auctioned off. The mother and son duo were evicted, and it turned out John had also borrowed money from several colleagues, which became known at the company. His sudden change of address and rumors of debt disrupted the company atmosphere, leading to his removal from the sales position, and his salary plummeted. Hey, come back to me. Mom and I can't make it on our own. Living in a small apartment with his mother, scrimping and saving, harassed by phone and email for repayment, he seemed to be under a lot of stress. I tried to help you. But you not only refused to do so, you yelled at me with terrible words. Who would want to go back to those days? Don't be ridiculous. You deserve what you're getting now. I wondered why I hadn't changed my phone number sooner. Yet, being able to say my piece to John at the end might have been a good thing, after all. The family changed after the father-in-law's absence. Maybe John's life, dominated by his father, was pitiable. But in the end, it was he himself who was liberated and corrupted. Will the crumbled pieces ever come back together? It's no longer my concern.